To donate, you can go to the website at tempoafrictv.com, and then you click on the homepage and then click on PayPal donation, and you can make your donation there. You could also call in and make a donation. The number is 612-804-0295. I cannot tell you how grateful we are for your donation. Please take the time and check out the website and feel free to donate to this wonderful service that Tempo Afrique continues to offer us abroad and at home. All this information is on the website. Just go to tempoafrictv.com and you will get more information. Thank you very much.
C'est encore Yves Kenao, c'est toujours Yves Kenao qui revient. Cette fois-ci, pour vous dire que Tempo Afrique TV vous offre plus de 4000 chaînes de télévision. Les chaînes européennes, les chaînes américaines, les chaînes asiatiques, les chaînes africaines. À un prix imbattable. À un prix imbattable. Tenez-vous bien. $185 pour 12 mois, inclus le box. Alors, où est-ce que vous pouvez trouver mieux que ça si ce n'est pas sur Tempo Afrique TV? Mesdames, Messieurs, appelez seulement le 612 804 0295 et vous serez servi. Vous serez agréablement surpris de voir plus de 4000 chaînes de télévision rouler sur votre écran comme ça et vous choisissez laquelle vous voulez. Alors mesdames, n'hésitez pas. N'hésitez surtout pas et ne faites pas compter. Prenez votre téléphone, prenez-le tout de suite et appelez le 612, le 804, le 02 95. Nous sommes là, ici à Tempo TV, pour rendre votre vie simple et agréable. Alors, saisissez l'occasion donc. $185 pour toute une année, pour 12 mois, inclus le box. Quoi de mieux que ça?
Mixing.
Hello everyone, hello world, hello Africa, and hello to all the diaspora all over the world. What a rough time we are having so far around the world, the whole entire global, the whole entire planet, where we are totally affected, where our world have changed in such a dramatic way that we don't even know what to think or what to expect or what is going on in the world. This coronavirus, I know it has played a lot of different roles in many lives, different aspects in many culture, and just some things that you can't explain is the way I see this coronavirus. And you know, of course, is just so much going on. There's a lot going on in the world, so much to talk about, too much to cover. But first of all, I want to say I am grateful to be back into the studio and have this clear voice and the videos, which is a lot better than what you guys have been seeing in the last 2 weeks during the time of the quarantine and the stay-at-home order. So the stay-at-home order is still on, but there are some of the states now that are arguing when the United States should be reopened back up, and the decision is definitely left to each of the countries. I mean, each of the states is left to the government for each of the states of when they feel like it is safe to open their economy back up. And still take a lot of precaution, definitely wear face masks. That's starting to be a really big thing that is pushing out right now. Get a custom made, get something that matches your outfit, whichever way that works. I know here at the studio, we're definitely doing a lot of social distancing. You have one person in one room and then one person in the other room. which is a great way to keep social distancing as well. So we want to keep, telling you all to keep social distancing. The numbers are still skyrocketing in the United States, and some of the states or countries that have been hit really hard, like Italy, Spain, New York, are starting to slow down from their new coronavirus cases. Meanwhile, in China, they reopened the economy, but now they're doing a second lockdown. In some parts of the countries or some parts of the region in China are doing lockdown. And now there has just been some other serious uprising going on in China. Now, of course, as you guys all been hearing in all social media or all media mainstream, that China cannot be trusted. It really cannot. There's just so much silence going on in China. People that are trying to speak out about this regime and these leaders of China and what they're doing to the citizens of China, even the foreigners that are living in China, they're not allowed to speak about these things. They're not allowed to post on social media or video or record. They're very strict about it. So these people are telling their stories in silence. They're trying to reach social media and mainstream media in any way they can possible. And I'm definitely proud of some of the media like Al Jazeera and South Africa, who has been covering a lot going on there with some of their people in China as well. And here at Tempo Afrique, I'm going to talk to you guys about it. I know we have been on this topic for so long, and you'll probably hear a lot more about it. But I want to give you guys, from my perspective, view of what is going on in China here at Ellie Naimo Talk Show. So later on, if you have any questions or you have any input that you'd like to say, feel free to call in. So here's the number below. Call in so that we can hear your voice. And if you have experienced such a thing in your life, call in. We would love to hear from you as well. So today we're going to talk about the discrimination in China. Now, with all these discrimination in China, it really has gone very far. Just in the last week or two, things have really started to come into the surface of what is happening in China. As silent as China is right now, it is very hard to know and understand exactly what is happening in China, because it is a country that is ruled by a communist party, and this communist party is all about power and control and lies. There's just been so many lies about the records of the coronavirus cases itself that are being put in the world meters, where you can see all the total cases for everybody. And not only that, the coronavirus has been happening in China way before it got out of the country for about 4 months or so. And there just has been numerous of deaths that has not been announced at all that were happening in China. And people felt a lot of horrific moments and have seen a lot of horrific things that were happening to them. And the regimes are trying to keep all of this in silence as much as they can until it slipped out. And if you guys remember earlier in the news about the 4 doctors that were killed by the coronavirus because they knew how bad this virus is, and that it can jump from another human to another human, is very contagious. And as soon as they were to come out and announce that, the Chinese regime silenced them. And then they died of the coronavirus not too long afterwards. And as we all know, the outbreak left China, went to the nearest countries, and then Spain, Italy, which ended up getting hit really hard, and so many deaths has been rising. And then, of course, United States, the first state to be hit extremely hard, New York City, where we have total of, I believe about 10 deaths so far, 10,000 deaths so far. And that's just about half of the whole United States total death here. So here's China with a virus that have took over the world and has killed many lives. And there's not a clear explanation that they can give to the WHO of exactly what is happening. At first, they announce it to them and say that, it's not a human-to-human contact and that this virus is not contagious. And of course, we have Donald Trump over here who is investigating China because of all of this that is happening. And of course, Donald Trump realized that the WHO are not telling the truth. As they were interviewed, they did say that they were taking the information they were getting from China, and China is not giving all the information that the world needs. So Donald Trump decided to deeply look into that and investigate it and cut up all the funds that they fund to the WHO and freeze them until the investigation is done. And of course, it's hard because China is such a really communist country. They won't allow anyone into the country. But I'm sure United States will find a way. So we're going to just wait on that news. That's a developing story that is coming up. In the meanwhile, now that Africa is being hit really hard, the cases are going up, the numbers are going up, we're starting to see death toll taken up in different parts of Africa. And of course, it's very unfortunate because Africa does not have all the tools and the equipment that the rest of the world has, like ventilators and a lot of test kits, and it's a vulnerable country is what I'm trying to say. So as a vulnerable country, we may not have the capacity to treat everyone, so we may have a higher death toll, but of course we don't know because a lot of these are not taking the tests, the coronavirus test, in order to be confirmed of COVID-19. And as we just continue to watch from some of these documentaries and these news from personal individual of what they're going through and what is happening in Africa, it's the only way we know how bad this coronavirus is really spreading there. And now, as far as discrimination. So in the beginning, we had a lot of discrimination against Chinese all over the world. And for a while, I didn't really understand that. It's bad. I felt really bad for the Chinese people, what they have to go through and what they have to endure, especially mostly in Europe, where they are being beaten in the middle of the streets, and they were just being treated as if they are the virus themselves. And of course, some parts in Africa, did the same thing where there were some discrimination against Chinese themselves. And of course, there's many Chinese in Africa. There's so many Chinese in Africa and the Caribbean as well, and South Asia, because of course they're the one who are doing a lot of the constructions, like the railroad, the underground railroads in Kenya, and the light rail in Ethiopia, and all these other things that are supposed to bring the country into a much more development stage. So they've been doing a lot of work. Even in Ethiopia, of course, some of the writings are written in Chinese, so Chinese is like the third language where it is being taught to the students in school as well. And same thing is going on in some parts of the other world. And then we start seeing Chinese people moving in and are taking up residence in the country as well. So of course, we don't really know what is the agenda behind it. But of course, the coronavirus have revealed so much that, whatever the strategy or whatever the plan may be, why the Chinese are doing so much in Africa and developing the country so much in Africa, and that what is their plan behind it. As you see these images here, this photo is from a museum over there in China. And they're comparing an African man with an ape. Now, it's pretty disturbing, so forgive me for these images, but I had to show it to you guys, what is there in China. So, of course, the Chinese can build a country, and they could do whatever the agreement may be with the leaders. And I know we don't have great leaders in Africa, but what is the Chinese benefits to that in helping Africa development, There was an announcement recently in some of the media mainstream where the Chinese are saying, we're going to forgive all the debts in Africa due to the coronavirus. So that everything that was invested in Africa, it would have been millions and billions of dollars that Africa would have to own to China. So if something was to happen one day and Africa can't pay it back, what do you think is going to happen to Africa? Of course, the Chinese are ahead of the world power right now, aligned with United States. So as far as the United States being the first country and China being one of the most powerful countries as well, those two can go at it. But when you look at this little Africa, this big continent with all these people of different countries there, and they're constructing Africa, they're doing all these wonderful things without even the people of Africa having to think twice, why are these people doing so much? So, as the interview goes with the Chinese people, the Chinese said that it's for the African benefit. All the money we have invested in there, we're going to forgive all of the debts. Now, we don't know if that is for sure or whatever the agreement may be between the Chinese and whatever that African leader is, but we can't trust our African leaders either. They're not always the best at making the most wise decision as well. So if these guys are saying that we're going to forgive all the debt due to the coronavirus, and they're also shipping in all these test kits and these blankets and these equipments into Africa, we don't know if they're contaminated or if they are brand new or what. Mostly, the thing that the people in Africa need, if you really want to help Africa, mainly from China, ventilators. Africans need ventilators because ventilators can be used anywhere. And that's the main thing that can help save a human life, when they get to that point where they can't breathe. And then ventilators pretty much sedate you, and it puts you in a coma so that your body can rest. It doesn't have to do all the extreme work of trying to recover from COVID-19. So that's one thing I would ask from the Chinese people, my African leaders, if anything, is ventilators. Everything else is pretty much just a lower and a minor case. Plus, also on top of that too, of course, the Chinese are saying that, it's to benefit Africa. Everything we are building is benefiting for Africa. But as we all know, when somebody does something extremely big for you, there's always an agenda behind it. So it's best to look deeper. Now, with this coronavirus happening and going on, it's a world pandemic. Everybody's feeling it. Everybody's going through it in their own different boats in the same storm. But this discrimination against Africa and China have shown their true color. For Chinese to feel like it's okay to discriminate against Africa, these people are getting tested so many times, and sometimes they come out negative multiple times, and they're getting pissed off that they're not coming positive. Not only that, another case where these foreigners are actually being looked at as the virus. So who knows if that's a comeback for how the Chinese were being treated around the world, or in Europe, or America, or in Africa. Shouldn't it be a discrimination against all foreigners then? Because this is mainly only targeting African right now, so it really puts it in a racial and discrimination standard at this point. If they want to come back and say, this is our chance for us to treat these foreigners the way they have been treating us in their countries, well, Europe has been doing it. I haven't seen much in America, but, in case if that's happening, okay, maybe you can do that against the American. Then of course, we could see why you want to discriminate against Africans because of how they're treating the Chinese in Africa. But the main case is discrimination has gone too far only to African people. These people are being evacuated. They're being evicted out of their homes that they rent. So they're in the streets, not sure where to go next. And they're just roaming around with their luggages from one place to another. And it's very devastating to see that. It's very, very, very sad, I must say. But when you're supposed to be quarantined, you're supposed to have a stay-home order. You're supposed to be inside so that you're not contaminated by the coronavirus. These people are kicked out and they have no home, they have nowhere to go, so how are they gonna protect themselves from the coronavirus? There's no way. So it's like another way that they seen is an opportunities to go ahead and let them catch the virus as much as they like, and once they have it, they're gonna die anyway. Most of the people that have been dying in China, and I'm not talking about the people, I'm talking about, you know, what the communists and the Chinese regime are doing to the people, even how they treat their own people has already been significantly bad in the beginning, where before December 31st, everything that was happening in China and how they were just throwing dead bodies, I don't know, what would you call it? Like you dig up a big graveyard and you pile all the bodies in there. Those are a lot of the horrific that was going on, but of course we'll never see it because that's how secret the Chinese communism plays their game. And not only that, a lot of elders, a lot of people are dying in their homes. So people are committing suicide. The depression is really huge right now in China. Those are some of the things that are happening that you don't hear much in the news. But of course, the government want to make it seem like, okay, we are coronavirus free, everyone is okay, now we can go back to work. And the reason why we didn't test everyone else is because we didn't include all the symptomatic cases. Yes, the symptomatic cases, even if they have the coronavirus, it just means that they don't get sick. So they already have antibiotics in their body where they have either mild symptoms or they don't have any symptoms at all. So, but they still have coronavirus. They still should have been added on the cases. You know, when you look at the world meter for all the cases confirmed all over the world, United States is stopped, and then you have Spain. I'm going to pull it up so I give you guys the 100% accurate information on what is happening. So, United States is number one, and then second you have Spain, Italy, France, Germany, UK, and then China. So, China only has 82,000 confirmed cases and 4,632 deaths. Well, meanwhile, in the United States, we have 737,000 cases and total of 39,000 deaths. Our death rate is about to be almost the same as the confirmed cases in China. So there's a huge gap of explanation there. And this is one of the reasons we know that, you know, China is still keeping a lot of information. And I can say, you know, I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I'm proud of him for going after him. So, for going after the Chinese communists and the whole entire regime party. And also, of course, with WHO, they are World Health Organization. So they're supposed to stand with every country. Is their job. Not just taking whatever information that the Chinese told them. Maybe somebody's being threatened, I don't know, you know, for them to not have the full information. But of course, you know, there is an investigation on that too, due to the fact that the first story that went out that, oh, coronavirus is not contagious, it's not a human-to-human contact. And then later on we find out by 2 million that are confirmed cases and over 250,000 that are dead all over the world. Yeah, it's very contagious. And that news didn't go out as it should. So, of course, whatever China has planned and whatever that they wanted to do, you just can't really trust them. So, my biggest regards goes out to my African people over there in China. I really do. And some of the comments we see here from our Facebook friends, if you want to call in and you have any input you like to say, please say something. I'm looking for a company. You're invited, actually. That's what I meant to say. Fatu, you guys are still going to the studio. Yes, girl. We are here at the studio. Well, I'm here. I'm finally at the studio. So it's actually a whole lot better than trying to live stream at home, especially with all the internet that are being overwhelmed and overused right now. The internet is getting exhausted itself. So yeah, feels good to be at the studio. And Pagur, Akud, hi, how are you? I know we had our own little talk here and there, but maybe you could tell us what is going on in South Sudan, you know, the last country to have a confirmed virus case, and now on the world meter, we have 4 confirmed virus cases. So maybe we can hear a little bit from one of you guys to tell us what's going on, what's happening in South Sudan. Garang, hello, my friend. Well, hello, my friend. Thank you you guys for checking in. I truly appreciate this. You know, if there's anything that you guys likes to add on everything that I'm saying, you're definitely more than welcome. But I have a call. Oh, awesome. I have a call. Okay.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
How are you?
Good. Who am I speaking to? Or you don't have to say your name, but you're definitely more than welcome.
Yeah, I just want to take part of this discussion about discrimination against African in China. It's not something recent. It has been a long time ago, but it's now, today, some African people who are just going to China and also, buy some stuff. The most of people who reside in that particular, place, South China. Now, when this story, this issue, they brought it out. Today, we are on the TV talking about it. A long time we should, raise this story, because Chinese people, if you go in Africa, all part Africa, they have land, they buy land, and they are doing agriculture. But what they are growing is not for you, African. They are going to send it to China. And let me let you know that in Nigeria, there is one restaurant in Nigeria. It's only Chinese who can go inside to dine, to eat inside. But the black are not allowed. They
I
have
heard
to,
about that, yes.
Yes. They have to go on the window and carry the food out. But today, Nigeria, they are not playing game. They just close, this restaurant. It can tell us, we African, to be awake. Today, we are talking about this discrimination, but we
So
don't
this
know.
is happening in Africa?
Yeah.
By the
It's
Chinese
happening in Africa, in Nigeria.
In Nigeria?
I'm talking in Nigeria. There's a restaurant in Nigeria
Oh, my
where
word.
Chinese people only can go to dine inside. You black, you cannot go inside. You have to go out to your food. You go on the window and order your food. That's what I'm talking about. And I have the story here. But I'm just to give you, the update of what is going on. We need to, yes. And that's what I'm saying. Africa is a continent. China is a country. What is the difference between a country and a continent?
Yeah.
African people, we have everything. Why we can stay there? And also, I'm going to tell you today, we have our African Union building in where? In Addis Ababa. Who built it? It's Chinese people who built it. But what they're going to do there, they spend 5 years for espionage to African Union. Nobody raised that issue, but Temple Africa TV will talk about it later on. Now, this is the issue. Today, if it was like CNN who talk about it, you're gonna see that all people will be raised up. Today, Tempo Africa TV every time can bring out some story, but if now they can be awake, they can be awake and talk about it. But this is the time for this coronavirus for African to.
So this coronavirus is really, really shining out a lot of colors of who the Chinese people really are.
Yes, I mean they talk about the people of color. It means that they're talking about Africa, but don't be afraid of this virus because you have everything, or potentially medicine in your country, to get whatever you need to get. But we have to put our feet together to come out with that solution.
We do, absolutely.
Why can we?
Why are they being allowed to treat us bad in our own countries,
This is the time. This is them, and the same people, they are coming in Africa to say, okay, we're gonna give you some money. We're gonna borrow some money, or we give you some money to make some vaccine.
100 years ago, yes.
Yes. When it came about Ebola, they didn't find any vaccine. They didn't find any vaccine. African come with some solution. Did you hear about Ebola anymore?
No.
No. Now they talk about the coronavirus. What is behind the coronavirus? Are we gonna stay, listen to them and cross our feet and look at them? This is the time Africa need to be raised up. This is the time we have to do something. We don't need to wait anybody.
This can't happen again. No.
Yeah, it's what I want to say, and this is a good. What you're doing, I really appreciate. You brought out in English what people are doing.
Thank you.
And I'm happy for you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for calling. All right, so we just had one caller in, and I've heard little information here and there, but I totally was not aware that Chinese would have a restaurant in Africa country and not allow Africans to go in there. Yeah, that's too far. That's a serious discrimination right there. Now, as we did kind of mention, when I said 100 years ago earlier on the conversation here, when we had the slavery, how did the whole slavery start in Africa? The European came in and decided to introduce their beautiful merchant. If you guys have heard of the popular story of the king who has a gold crown, a white man came to him and showed him a mirror. This man has never seen himself in a mirror before. He was really fascinated that he was able to see himself. And so he traded his gold crown for the mirror. That's the trick, okay? So now, if you take it back to what is currently happening now, you have the Chinese bribing Africans saying that we could do this for you, we could do this for you, it's good for you, it's benefiting you. And then the Africans are gonna say, okay, sure. One moves in, tomorrow you'll see 2, the next day you'll see 3. In 3 months down the line, you'll see 100. Now, one thing, these jobs that they are building in Africa and they're creating in Africa, not even an African worker is being hired to work in those jobs. And that's in Africa land. All right, that's fine. You want to help Africa. You want to build buildings. You want to build hospitals, railroads, all that stuff. But why you don't hire Africans as well? Because if you don't hire the people, you're not helping the people. There's a gain that you're trying to get out of it. Instead, you're bringing your own people from China, having Chinese build, so then they're the one getting paid. It actually would have been really, really wonderful, of course, if you have African workers, they're getting paid, so that those people can work their way up and eventually even become entrepreneurs themselves, become businessmen themselves, and be able to hire other people. Now, we have a writing here, but I can't read it since it's in French. So, I can. I don't know how to read French. But I wish I did. You know, I did took some little French class here and there, and I know a lot of our talk shows here on Tempa Africa are mostly in French. They're by Abdu Alassani. Feel free to call in, and we can speak in English. And so continuing on, so the workers that are building Africa, of course, hire Africans, okay? You're building a country in Africa, but you're bringing your own people from China to build these and actually be the only one getting paid. So, yeah, you know, it's something that we really need to be alert about, okay? The whole entire continent, Africa, is something we really all need to be alert about. And, you know, again, like I said earlier, hopefully our leaders can do something better. Hopefully they can finally wake out of their sleep and look at the potential of their own countries and look at the potential of what it could really become and focus on educating your own students there as much as possible. Now, speaking of students, so there are a couple of students in China right now as far as we talk about the discrimination happening there. There was a story from one student. She's going to school to become a doctor, and of course the discrimination is taking a lot of toll on her because she's they'll give her a 14-day quarantine, and then when that 14 days is done, then they'll give another 14-day quarantine. And whenever she has to leave the house, she has to get the permission from the authority in order to leave the house. And you know, it's just much harder for the Africans to even try to get their basic need or their essential needs, or even just to go to a grocery shopping and get food. So all of that is happening. But of course, you know, she held on to her faith and standing strong and saying, you know, hopefully she'll graduate soon and this shall pass and she'll come back to her country in Africa. So, you know, my big condolences to all the students over there in Africa. Be strong, and the time will come. I mean, this coronavirus, we don't know when it's going to end or what's going to happen, because China right now is having a second lockdown. So whenever they're trying to push people back into the economy so that the economy does not drown too deep, the coronavirus strikes again. You know? So there's really no guarantee to when that will open. You know, hopefully the African leaders can bring back some of their students as well. You know, bring the people back, bring them back to the country. And at least they'll be better off at home than the suffer they are going through in Africa. There's so many of them right now that are evicted, that don't even have homes, and they don't even know where to go next. And they're just wandering in the street. They're sleeping in the street. Yeah, it's really sad. This whole discrimination against African in China has really gone too far. Not only that, us African people in the countries are allowing the Chinese to also treat us bad in our own country. That's even more sadder than what is happening outside of Africa. So, you know, that's my biggest message to you all, and you know, I hope you guys get my point of what I'm trying to say. And you know, us as the people individually, we must stand together. We must have a strong mind, because if the Satan got your mind, pretty much you're screwed. Let's just say it like that. But it's better to have a strong mind and stand together, follow this strategy. There should be no fear whatsoever, no fear. Especially you're seeing your brothers and sisters that are being treated so horribly and so bad. You have the right to stand your ground for them. If a Chinese say, you're not welcome into my restaurant, and they're in your country, you're going in. That's the way I look at it. I mean, you know, some say talking is easier than doing it, so I don't know what it would be like, but I know for sure that I mean, here in the United States, we are a different ethnic group, different background. So a Chinese can't say to an African that you can't come to my restaurant, because that's where most of them goes anyway, to Chinese restaurants. Like my South Sudanese men, they love Chinese food. They will spend all of their days there. Yeah. So same thing, you know, in the African countries, just stay in your ground, you know. Let's get this word out there. Let's keep talking about it. And eventually, all of this will come to a common ground. It may get worse before it gets better, but in order to see the light, sometimes you have to walk through the darkness before you can see the light. But other than that, it also takes a huge role, too, from our leaders in Africa as well. So that's my message to you all. If anyone wants to call in and have any input or want to share their testimonies or stories of what they have seen in Africa, you're definitely more than welcome to. And I believe we still have a little bit of time left before we close this, this chat here. I'll just make a quick announcement of what other things that are going on into the world as well. And we might touch up on some of these topics later in the next coming days. Right now we have, here in the United States president-elect, so it's Trump against Biden. Let's see who's going to win. Maybe Trump might get the second round of being the president of the United States again. And again, we have COVID-19 that has took over a pork company in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They had to shut the whole entire company down because pretty much everyone in there were affected. Now we're having a rise on the agriculture, so where the food may get affected. The farmers are not able to transport the food to the grocery stores and the restaurants, as a lot of those are shut down right now. So they don't know what to do with the mass amount of food that are being stored in the farmers area. So they're dumping a lot of milk and all that stuff. All right, let's see how many more minutes. And so, but Donald Trump decided to, oh, okay. We have a call coming in now, so I'm going to touch up on these updates when we have our downside of far from discrimination. All right. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Nyamala Mala.
Mala. Sorry, sorry, my people. We're going to take it in right now. Go ahead.
No.
David,
no.
How are you?
Which language do you like me to?
Ano bukan aku med.
Oh, kan dia go.
Majalong ke English, balar ke English, majalong ko tung na, balo lui ko tung na.
Anyway, I really appreciate your explanation. It would have been your PhD dissertation already. Mm-hmm. So I would give you A+. So anyway, what do you think we can do for those who are having problems in China, who are living on the street? Because I have seen a lot of them. They are on the street, not only on the street, they are beating up on the street.
Yeah, they're beating them up too.
So I don't really know what African leaders are thinking about it. So what do you think we should do for them to be rescued out of their really ugly situation that are facing them right now?
That's a really good question, and that's a really tough question. You know, it's you know, this news is still getting out a lot, and my hope is that, you know, we get as many awareness as we can, and hopefully we could try to reach out to some organization or some funding organizations that can help bring some of these people back to their country. But I haven't really looked deeply into how many people are actually in China and those that are evicted and they're stranded in the street, because it is very heartbreaking to see them how they sleep in the street and just roaming around, don't even know where to go. But as soon as we can get into that numbers, I'm going to do my research and try to find out all this, how many people or over there in China, and how we can help them, how we can reach out to them. We hope that we can get this word to the leaders as well and try to, compress them to do something, to make some actions. Because, of course, the major thing is the funds, and just try to get an organization there to get them airlines to come back home. And with the whole borders being shut down and borders being closed, there's going to be, the leaders would have more greater tool, because they would have to use the military or the private cargos to bring the people back into the country. So it is a very challenging answer to that.
Well, thank you very much. Go along. I know that it will take, you had a cousin there, maybe you heard about Qatar when you go home. I had seen you went home, and then I had seen your beautiful picture with Dad. So you would have been having a knowledge about your relate blood cousin and all that kind of stuff. So one of them is your blood cousin. She is now facing the same problem in China. But anyway, I would encourage you to voice out on your studio, because so many African leaders now, they are watching what is going on around the world. So one of them would take responsibility and action to see what they can do with those people. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope I can try to get in touch with that cousin, because then that will be another closer step to really get closer to what is happening to China, and in what connection can we make to get them out of there.
So I really know exactly where she is, but all I know that is if we can track her down through Dr. Rayang, Dr. Ruth in Cuba, maybe they would know where she is. But I don't really, I kind of forget their name too, but I know his father just died last year, or year before. His name is Bullet Guk, where you can have a couple of Guk. So you met some of them when you were at home there.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I even spoke to the South Sudan embassy in Addis Ababa, but that was a different case, so.
Okay. All right. Well, keep it up. So I would even encourage you to do your schooling too, so, because you are getting there internationally.
Thank you. It's a little Ted, because even that little conversation we had is definitely something to think about. So now it's in my head. I'll try to trace back some of my contacts that I can find, even to South Sudan embassy. Maybe don't they can Nathan Chuka South Sudan, or you can just South Sudan. Don't they can go lojok. Hopefully each region, but I'm a let go key nanny can't they can go long. So yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.
God.
Thank you. I will.
You're welcome. Bye.
Wow. So, if anyone has any inputs or any idea, or you know of any organization that is trustworthy in Africa, inbox us and go to tempoafrictv.com. There's an email there, contact information. Send an email, or you can go ahead and inbox me on Ellie Naimel Talk Show, and I will look into that. So as many connections as we can find, that would be great. And then we could try to see how we can build those bridges. And I know, I think we have another caller, do we? Okay. And I know with the communists and the whole regime that's happening in China, they have cut off a lot of networks and social. I'm sorry. Oh, hello.
Hello?
Hi.
Yes, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Yeah,
Welcome.
I know. Yes, I would just, want to talk about our leaders. I don't know what are they doing. I don't know if you hear from one of our leaders, talking about this issue. I don't know if you know that. You just let us know, because since it has been happened, it's only the government of the Donald Trump administration brought out this issue. But right now, our leaders are not talking about anything. The real question we are asking ourselves: what are Chinese corporations doing in Africa? This is the question. But most of us, we don't, we just, thinking about China is there to help Africa. China is not there to help Africa. That's a highly controversial issue. The reason Chinese corporations are in Africa is simple. They are there only to exploit the people and to take the resources. This is a period. Yeah. It is the same thing European colonies, did during, mercantile time. It's a kind of the same. What are we doing now? And the people who are, in this issue, in discrimination issue in China, this is the time to talk with them and make sure that this issue has, they already stopped it. What can we do, between Africa and China? The government or the president need to meet each other and tell us exactly what we're going with, the Chinese in Africa. Because you cannot have your space in China, tell people not to use that space, but from China, you are always this world in Africa to buy, lands, to do anything you want to do your business, invest. And when the Chinese people give you one...
They can negotiate on business level.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are not there for you. What I want to say,
Right.
If they give you, they borrow you money, they're gonna take 100% and more that money. They're gonna take more because they're gonna break you some people, within your country, and they're gonna work. If you call Chinese, come in.
Wow. You made a really good point there because, are you there? I think the call cut off. Africa. Some of our leaders are dying. So when they're dead, who's going to take over? That's another thing to really look at too. And I was going to bring that up too in the middle of the topic. I mean, thanks to this caller who brought up that topic, so it kind of lead to that. We have some of the leaders that have attracted COVID-19, and we haven't heard any confirmed deaths about them already, but I believe maybe, we have already lost some of the leaders, and also more to come, I would say. So, again, history could repeat. It really can. And this coronavirus shows me that this can happen again. And I'm pretty sure it has woken up the world and to show them that this can happen again. Now, as far as what happened the first time, now we really, really have to put our foot down. Especially all the countries in Africa. Africa is a continent. It's a continent. There's so many of us there, And these people, the regime, the communists of China, they're after something. And we just can't allow the history to repeat for the second time. I mean, think about it. Do we really want to go through another independency or another war of Ottawa? Those are all the things that we got to think about. Even that victorious war against the Italians. And now, it's really all the power of the mind. As long as all of our people wake up and understand what is happening and that this is not for our benefits, then the leaders hopefully can step forward and make decisions in a business level, strictly business. I'm pretty sure the leaders have enough power to say, you know what, I'm the ruler of this country, so if you're gonna bring your company here, you're gonna hire my people. Simple as that. And if they don't agree, let them go back. Simple as that, you know? Africa has so much resource that the world needs. That's why Africa was taken in the first place. Now Africa is being taken again. There's so much resources. The world needs Africa. So the leaders have enough power to say, fine, if you don't want to agree to my term, you can just simply go back. That's it. Before it gets too far in. Because what the Chinese are going to do is they're going to play tricks with your mind. They're going to manipulate you. They're going to find a way to get to your head so that they can control it. You know? So anyway, that's all of my input today. So we're getting close to wrapping up the show. And I do want to continue to some of the little updates that I was mentioning earlier. You know, of course, the agricultures and all the farming markets, you know, now we're reaching a breach where we may have shortage of food, and a lot of these farmers that are dumping out milk and all these food, and hopefully they will find a local area and donate all of those. But gratefully, Donald Trump sent them about 15 million or billion, I don't remember exactly, so don't count my word on that, to the farmers and the agriculture so that they can be able to transmit those food into the grocery stores so that the citizens could still have food. Next that I do want to mention, there is 2 states that are doing lawsuits against China. We have Florida and Texas, I believe, due to the tremendous death and how the whole coronavirus really affected everyone and taken a huge toll on the people. So Texas and Florida are doing a lawsuit against China. And Trump is doing an investigation on WHO and have cut off the funds that they give to the WHO every year until they get all the deep details and the data and all the information that they need on whatever all the secret the Chinese Communist Party are keeping. And also, few little short information about what's going on in Africa. A breaking news that there is a locust that is spreading from North to East Africa, all the way to the Middle East, to South Asia. So what locust does is they come in multitude numbers, and they fly in like a dark cloud that is coming, you know, over the land. And what they do is they eat the crops, all the farmers' hard work before harvest time, and they pretty much anything that is a plant, they eat it all until the land becomes desolate. So that is what has been going on in Africa, in East Africa there, in North Africa, but it's more dangerous in Somalia, Ethiopia, Kenya, and Eritrea. So those 4 countries have been hit really hard by the locusts. And so usually what follows with that is the locust eats all the farmers and all the crops that are in the land, then there's a greater chance of famine. So that's a short little news I want to break out to you all. And also, some of in Saudi Arabia, due to the coronavirus and all the confirmed cases, now Saudi Arabia are thinking about sending back all the people back into their countries. And so now we're having people being sent back to Ethiopia, being sent back to Kenya, and so far they're planning on sending out about 200,000 people back into their countries, and have sent out 2,800 people so far back into Ethiopia and Kenya. But of course, with the whole coronavirus and not knowing if they're affected or not, or if they have attracted the coronavirus, still the countries are taking precautions to test them, so we hope they're getting tested and being quarantined. and isolated for 14 days. So due to the large number of COVID cases that might take up in the near future, and there's not a huge, there's not a big medical system that can hold all the coronavirus cases or patients at once. So this is a pretty large numbers that are coming back into the country, which is good. We definitely want our people back. This is a really, really hard time for the entire world. People are being treated bad in many different places. So if Saudi Arabia decides that they want to send back the people into their countries, that is great. We'll take that as the most wonderful thing ever. So we're not going to discriminate on that, even though Saudi Arabia has been really terrible against Africans as well. And of course, in the countries itself, including India and other countries in Africa, where people are being sent back to their villages from the city. Now, as far as in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, there's a lockdown with the coronavirus, and a lot of people are being sent back to their village or their town. And we hope, again, you know, if you go back to your village, isolate yourself, quarantine yourself for 14 days so that the outbreak doesn't continue in the small little villages that are even more extremely vulnerable. So that's pretty much all of my information to you all today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate all the phone calls that have come in. And, you know, it's still a developing story, still going to look into things, hoping that I'll have more good news to share next Saturday, hopefully, or at least try to bring good news to you all. Again, you know, let's keep our African people in prayers in other, especially in China right now for what they're going through or what they're facing. And we'll see how this all going to end out. It's just the beginning for coronavirus. It seems like coronavirus has completed its world tour. Now it's just leaving its residues, turning people against each other, starvation coming onto here, and deep of lost economy is happening here. Yes, and many funerals to come. So far, I've seen my first funeral on social media last week. So I can't imagine how many funerals and all the grief that we are about to go through in June, July, the whole entire fall. So stay safe from coronavirus, follow procedure. Anytime you go anywhere, wear face masks as much as possible. Never touch your face. Wait till you get home and wash your hands before you touch your face or before you touch anything else. You know, just keep a really good hygiene. This coronavirus is here and it's here to stay. It's not going away anytime soon. Now we know and understand that we can have coronavirus in the summer because the cases are skyrocketing in the most hottest places in Africa. And also that it can have another outbreak again in fall, and hopefully not, and hopefully there'll be a vaccine that will be found. There's a lot of clinical trials that are taking place right now in the United States. So we hope, you know, they'll at least find a medication or a vaccine that, you know, will help cure some of these coronavirus cases, COVID-19. Also Ccp virus, meaning China corona pandemic. So it was named that so that they can keep the original in the history book. Again, have a good night from LE9 Mall Talk Show, and see you next time.
Hi, it's me again, Korma Agustakmeyer. I'm here today to tell you more about Tempo Africa and how you can contribute. As you know, Tempo Africa is a station that services people of African descent and people in America, people in Africa. It's all over the globe. And for us to do that, we are always accepting donations. To donate, you can go to the website at tempoafrictv.com, and then you click on the homepage and then click on PayPal donation, and you can make your donation there. You could also call in and make a donation. The number is 612-804-0295. I cannot tell you how grateful we are for your donation. Please take the time and check out the website and feel free to donate to this wonderful service that Tempo Afrique continues to offer us abroad and at home. All this information is on the website. Just go to tempoafriquetv.com and you will get more information. Thank you very much.
C'est encore Yves Kenao, c'est toujours Yves Kenao qui revient. Cette fois-ci, pour vous dire que Tempo Afrique TV vous offre plus de 4000 chaînes de télévision. Les chaînes européennes, les chaînes américaines, les chaînes asiatiques, les chaînes africaines. À un prix imbattable. À un prix imbattable. Tenez-vous bien. $185 pour 12 mois, inclus le box. Alors, où est-ce que vous pouvez trouver mieux que ça si ce n'est pas sur Tempo Afrique TV? Mesdames, Messieurs, appelez seulement le 612 804 0295 et vous serez servi. Vous serez agréablement surpris de voir plus de 4000 chaînes de télévision rouler sur votre écran comme ça et vous choisissez laquelle vous voulez. Alors mesdames, n'hésitez pas. N'hésitez surtout pas et ne faites pas compter. Prenez votre téléphone, prenez le tout de suite et appelez le 612, le 804, le 02 95. Nous sommes là, ici à Tempo TV, pour rendre votre vie simple et agréable. Alors, saisissez l'occasion. $185 pour toute une année, pour 12 mois, inclus le box. Quoi de mieux que ça?
Hot mix mixing.
Merci. Merci d'être venu. Merci. Merci.